Hi all, welcome back to Planet Coaster, and welcome to the first episode of the Towers, or Alton Towers, or Alton Lodge, or Alton Abbey, whatever you want to call Alton Towers. There's so much history to these towers, and I honestly could go on about the history of the towers for a full hour, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about what I'm doing now, and what I've actually been doing with Hex, and when this whole project is going to get released to the workshop. So off camera, I've actually been doing a lot of work on the vault of Hex. The vault is now in place, it's animated, it's working tremendously well, much better than I thought it would work, to be honest, and I absolutely love how it's turned out. I really do think you guys are going to absolutely love the vault. I think it is really turned out quite good, and I do believe it is the very first working madhouse in Planet Coaster, to be honest. I tried googling some other projects of madhouses. People have done madhouses, but they're often just static scenery and then they don't really move around, but this is the first ever madhouse to properly function. There's no tricks or anything like the last loop I was using, you know, there's no camera tricks or anything. You literally go in, start a sequence, and it turns around for you basically, and I think you really will love it. Of course, I did post a few teasers of the actual vault. I did do the teaser on YouTube, and there's also a teaser of the very vault itself on my Twitter at Lokin_. So that's what I've been doing off camera, but now we're back on camera, back doing the time lapses, and I am doing the towers, and we're starting with the glass corridor, or the conservatories, or whatever you want to call this. It's basically the exit to Hex. This is where you would exit Hex. You would come out of the towers, come out the gallery, well, the gallery is the towers, you go up the stairs, through the glass corridor, and then you go out the other side, back into Fountain Square. Now, I was sort of debating on whether to start with the west wing, but I thought, considering the glass corridor is the entrance to the towers in real life, let's just start with them in Planet Coaster, because it would just make more sense to start with the glass corridor in Planet Coaster, wouldn't it? It just makes it so much easier. Anyway, back in the 2000s or so, I believe, the glass corridor didn't really exist. I mean, part of it was there, but the roof was just concrete, I do believe. And then when, around the 2010 season, 2009 season, I don't know when exactly they did it, they actually went to the conservatories, the glass corridor, and they put the glass roof back on there. Well, not back on it was completely new. So the glass roof that you see on the glass corridor it's completely brand new. It's all modern, it's not the original one, because yeah, it was all concrete. And a lot of people say, like, where did it go in the first place, to be honest? Well, actually, the owners back in 1950, back when Alton Towers was just a tiny little leisure attraction, a place of history. It wasn't a theme park or anything. There were a few things to do, walk around the gardens, walk around the towers, and that was it back in 1950. But yeah, so the owners of that time, they completely gutted the towers. All the wooden panels on the walls, all the furniture, all the lights. The towers were fully furnished back then and everything, and yeah, they gutted it all and sold it off, to be honest. I would have loved to have seen the towers fully furnished and had all the walls back on them in real life, to be honest. If only they were kept in that condition. It's a shame they weren't kept in that condition, to be honest. Before I do say anything else, I just want to give a shout out to Ben Moore Productions, who actually sent me an email on a 13 recreation he's working on. And from the pictures he sent me, he's doing a fantastic job with 13 at the moment. I'm not sure how he's going to do the indoor drop part of it, but well, I guess he'll get to that point of the project when he gets there. But honestly, he's done a fantastic job of it. If you have any screenshots of projects you're doing and you want to feature them in the video, then just send them to my email, which should be in the channel description. So yeah, send it there. Here I'm actually starting the it's an octagon. Yeah, this is an octagon. You got the three sides on the outside, and then you got the two arches on the inside. Yeah, it's an octagon. So this is basically the small octagon, the glass octagon. I don't know what it's actually called, but this is actually one of the sections of the glass corridor that was just concrete, really. It was just a concrete roof. Not all of it was concrete. The part where you actually walk through to exit Hex, that still had a glass roof on it, but the rest of it was just a concrete roof, and I think part of it didn't even have a roof at all, and you couldn't even walk through that part. It's weird how bad the towers used to be. A lot of people say, oh, Alton Towers doesn't really care about the towers anymore and all that because they put all Scarefest mazes in them. But seriously, if you look at the towers from a decade ago in the mid-2000s, God, they were in horrible condition. They were back then. Merlin Entertainments, when Merlin Entertainments took over Alton Towers, they transformed the towers. Really, they've done a fantastic job on the towers, and I am kind of jealous of everyone else who've been around the towers, because whenever I go to Alton Towers, they're always closed because they're setting up for Scarefest. It annoys me how they set up for Scarefest so early on in the year, because I would love to go and walk around the towers and go on the roof and everything, see all the park from the roof. I believe you can see Wickerman, Smiler, Oblivion, Tower Street, all from the roof and everything. I've just never had the opportunity because whenever I go, they're setting up for Scarefest, and it's a point I want to get onto there is Scarefest should not be in the towers. They really should not be set up in the towers, in my opinion. They've got plenty of space backstage to do a Universal style scare maze in marquees and tents and all that. Why can't they do it like Universal does it? They've got plenty of space. They've got massive space behind Jewel. They've got massive space behind Walliam's World. What other space they've got? I'm trying to think. They've got space behind Mutiny Bay. They've got space behind Tower Street. They've got all this space they can use for scare mazes. I'm not too bothered about the one in the courtyard. I believe last year was Darkest Depths. That one can stay there, to be honest. But just they shouldn't really be in the towers because it's the heritage and it's the history of the place. Like, they have the rule for the gardens. They're not allowed to build anything in the gardens down there other than restore them. They're not allowed to do anything to them. Why can't they have the same rule for the towers? It's annoying. So, coming off topic from Alton Towers a bit, and this is quite a sad bit of news that's just come out in the last few days. Of course, the country is currently in lockdown and theme parks aren't able to operate, they aren't able to get money, and the first victim of the lockdown has been announced, and it was M&D's theme park up in Scotland that's gone into administration now. So I think it's a shame. It's a park that I've never visited. I have drove past it, I've seen it from the motorway that goes past it, but it's sad that park's gone into administration because there's so many jobs gone. So many people who probably loved working there, they've got nowhere else to go, really. That was the only park in Scotland, I believe. Scotland doesn't really have any other amusement park, so it's a shame. And I think this might start a trend of other struggling theme parks in the UK closing, and I think the most obvious one from that is Lightwater Valley. Lightwater Valley has been a park, because Lightwater Valley has been struggling for the past few years. They've been struggling a lot, and I definitely think that Lightwater Valley might go under, just like M&D's. It would be a shame if it does, but, well, what can they do, really? Their competitor is Flamingo Land, and they can't compete against Flamingo Land. Flamingo Land have got all these rides, all these massive coasters. They've got a 10 inversion coaster that's just gone in for this year. No, Lightwater Valley can't really compete with Flamingo Land, so it's a shame. If Lightwater Valley goes, it would be a shame, but unfortunately it's the sad truth, really. Here, let's get off this subject and let's go back to the towers, shall we? Go back to this time lapse. So here I'm actually starting Her Ladyship's Gardens, which is basically the central gardens in the towers. It splits apart the entrance to the towers to the main towers themselves. So the gallery and the armory and the octagon all split off from the towers, and then you go through the glass corridor to actually enter the towers. It's a bit of a weird system, really, because you think with the front of the towers facing Tower Street and Essex and all that, you'd think the entrance of the towers would be there, but no, because that's where the moat is. The moat that goes, I think it used to be a moat. I don't know. If it didn't used to be a moat, that would be quite weird, because it's just a massive ditch down there. But yeah, the gardens basically do just split off the entrance to the towers, the gallery and the armory to the rest of them. I think the armory is the one where the staff and the servants would enter the towers, and then the gallery would be the corridor that all the visitors and the Earl of Shrewsbury himself would enter the towers. I think that's how it worked. Because they used to come up from the Alton Towers train station down the valley, and then you would go through the Alton Lodge, which used to be like the front gates of Alton Towers. I think the Alton Lodge is actually under restoration right now, because Theme Park Worldwide posted a video where he cycled to Alton Towers a couple of days ago, and it showed the Alton Lodge all in scaffolding and everything. So yeah, I think that building's under restoration right now, but they'll go through there. That's where they'll be greeted by the people who work on the estate, and then they would go up the hill towards the gallery and enter the towers, and that's how it used to be done. It'd be interesting if like Alton Towers makes that as one of the entrances now, because the entrance is up the road in Farley. That's where you enter Alton Towers, up by Farley, instead of the village of Alton anymore. So it would be interesting if Alton Towers make that an entrance. I would love to see that. Of course it's never gonna happen, but wouldn't that be interesting though if, I don't know, someday the Alton Towers train station gets renovated and they reintroduce that valley line that closed. Why did they close that valley line in the first place? I don't know, because it went to like Ashbourne, Alton, and Froghall and Leek, I think. I don't know, imagine if they connected that line to the Stoke-on-Trent station, because Stoke-on-Trent is reasonably close to Alton Towers, and you know, you get off the train at Stoke, you get back on the train to go to Alton Towers, and then that's where you'd enter. Oh, that would actually be really, really cool as like a holiday sort of thing, so you don't have to drive, because there are some people that get to Alton Towers by train, I'm pretty sure, and like they probably spend so much money on a taxi, because there's not really a bus service that goes to Alton Towers from Stoke. There's no other thing than a taxi, and I know it's a really stupid thing to talk about, renovate that whole railway line, but it's just something nice you can think about. I don't know, but yeah, so I'm basically putting the finishing touches now on the glass corridor, putting all the like the edging surrounded a supporting wall, and I know there's a bit of a gap between there, and I know there's a bit of a gap between the little ledge thing and the terrain. Well, that's because the terrain actually slopes up to that little gap, and it actually connects like that. So it is a bit weird. I don't understand why the gardens are built like that, but they just are. Anyway, I'm gonna leave you now. Hope you enjoy the rest of the time-lapse of the towers, or not the towers, but the glass corridor. In the next episode, we'll be moving into the actual main towers themselves, most likely be building up the west wing, or maybe the chapel, I don't know, either the chapel or the west wing, not really sure at the moment, but yes, thank you very much for watching the first episode of Towers, and stay tuned for when all of this gets released to the workshop. It will all be released in once, in one little world and everything. I'm tempted to put the smiler on it as well. I don't think that'll be a good idea, but I'm very tempted. But yeah, when the towers are done, Hex will release, the towers will release, they'll all release together. It'll be in one world, so you won't have to download two worlds or anything. But yeah, stay tuned for next episode of Towers, and if you're not subscribed and you enjoy these Planet Coaster videos of recreating real life attractions in the UK, then do consider subscribing. So yeah, I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.